Not yet. Hello once again for everyone. I'd like to start the closing part of our conference by saying that I had three main objectives for the conference. And of course, you will be the judges whether they were accomplished or not. So first of all, I tried to feed your curiosity with new things about new technology, about new issues, new discussions, to expand your horizons, to make you think that even if you're working in certain special field of international law, that technology is coming, and it's coming even into your narrow sub-specialization, and you will have to think about those technological innovations, even in your field, even if you don't think that you are a technology law internationalist. I hope I succeeded, at least to a small degree, in that. The second objective was to allow this high level of discussion. I wanted to push the advanced scholarship to elevate the legal knowledge in the field, to allow the fermentation of the ideas, exchange, very constructive critique that I learned in this society, in the events of this society, very friendly fires also. And the third objective was to provide a space and a time for each and all of you to meet and to talk with each other. And in that way, cementing and gluing that society of international law in Europe. I hope I succeeded to a small degree in my three modest tasks. And at this moment, I want to stop with my reminiscence, and I'd like to pass the microphone to Jörg Polakevich, director at the Directorate of Legal Affairs and Public International Law of the Council of Europe, to say a few words on the occasion of ESIL conference in Vilnius. This one is working also.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues, I know there are many people. It's so dark, the lights are so bright that I cannot see almost anybody. But I know there are some old friends, some new friends, and many people I met over the last 40 years of my career in international law. I will not give a final lecture. I just really very much thank Inga and here at the European Society for this privilege to speak to you in the final session. I was thinking what to tell. In the beginning, I was only to speak about the subject, new technologies, or more particularly the new AI convention that was opened for signature yesterday in this very beautiful city in Vilnius. Now I was, many people told me I should be a bit broader, but I will not be very long, be reassured. So I will just to begin with, despite my name, I could even come from Vilnius with this name, by the way, but I'm a Berliner. Not the donut, but a real Berliner. And via Heidelberg, the Max Planck Institute, life brought me to Strasbourg and to the Council of Europe, where I spent the last now more than 30 years. 10 years as the legal director, legal counsel of the organization, and I must say I do not regret any year there, but it has been a very hectic time, and I thought I just give you a glimpse of two subjects or two issues I was very much involved in this very town of Vilnius, because as maybe some of you know, the city these days did not host only your impressive conference, but a few kilometers, or not even, 1 or 2 kilometers away, in the famous Duke's Palace, where we will go for dinner, was hosted yesterday. The Lithuanian presidency of the Council of Europe hosted a Ministers of Justice conference. And this was the occasion also to open the first ever international convention treaty on artificial intelligence. And we were very happy despite a very short time frame. We had in the end 10 signatures. 10 may not sound so appealing, but I will come to a particular point that in reality more than 10 states are committed by these signatures. First of all, to name them, it was Andorra, Georgia, Israel, Iceland, Norway, Moldova, San Marino, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, and the European Union, who all signed on the day of the opening for signature. We normally should have had Ukraine as well, but because of the government reshuffle, the Minister of Justice unfortunately was prevented last minute to come to Vilnius. And so I can give you, as an insight, the first issue that arose that we had also to address, in which order should they sign? And this gives you already a flavor of the issues. We decided not first member states, then non-member states, but alphabetical order, all states, precisely to underline what was one of the main achievements also of this negotiation, that the Council of Europe succeeded in bringing together nations well beyond Europe. The negotiations, we had not only the United States of America, but we had several countries from Latin America. And we had also Japan was very active in the negotiations, but they simply didn't make it in time for signing on the opening for signature. It is a feature in the Council of Europe that more recent conventions very often are done already with a purpose to go beyond Europe. Also because for Europe we have the European Union, which now more or less overlaps ever more with the membership, which creates many fascinating legal issues where I have no time to go into, but I can encourage you. This is one, for me, it's in my personal life, one of the most challenging, but also interesting questions. And I will just name one, which this AI convention signature brought, because it was signed by Commissioner Jourova. And there is, but the question was also immediately, what does this signature mean? Because it's the first time ever in the Council of Europe, and I think even worldwide there are not so many examples, that the Union signs under exclusive competence. So the whole convention, the member states accepted that the whole convention is EU exclusive, and which means that they no longer sign, but only the European Union. I mean, they could have authorized member states to sign in the interest of the Union, but they didn't do it. And there is, this I cannot not do, because it is an invitation also for you to analyze paragraph 6 of the Council decision, not the Council of Europe, but Council of the EU, which is fascinating reading, I must say, and I was very surprised that this language found its way in a public document, in a public decision. Basically, it says exclusive competence of the Union, and this will mean that only the Commission will represent the member states in the conference of the parties, because one of the important features of this convention is that it is a living instrument. It will be followed up by a conference of parties. And paragraph 6 says, Commission is entrusted to obtain 27 votes for itself in this conference. Not 28. I don't even understand why not 28, because after all, Commission represents 27 plus EU. But it says 27 votes. And then, even more interestingly, it follows, should this prove impossible, be opposed by the other parties, then, but only then, the member states may be authorized to sign in the interest of the Union, to have finally to safeguard this 27 votes, not to lose them. So this is just one example of the so many Council of Europe EU relations which remain unaddressed. I mean, some of you who know me know that my life is also tragically has been very much occupied with another issue where, by the way, next Tuesday, the Court of Justice will give another important judgment on the EU accession to the ECHR, where we have now a fully drafted treaty agreement for the accession, something which the Lisbon Treaty, I don't know for how many years now, has as an obligation for the EU, but which never materialized. And the last open issue is CFSP. And on Tuesday, the Court of Justice is asked to judge on an issue, ULEX Kosovo, which in a nutshell, they have to decide whether they have a competence, despite the treaties quite clearly saying that the Court of Justice has no competence. But only if the Court of Justice goes almost against the EU treaties, at least in their written form, and accepts this to fill this jurisdictional gap, only then we are safe. The accession will go ahead if they follow the Advocate General, who was very progressive, I must say, but I'm not so sure that the Court of Justice will be as progressive as the Advocate General. Already in the infamous opinion 213, it didn't follow the Advocate General. And if this is the result, I think the accession will not happen before my retirement, and for maybe never. But we have never been so much interesting times. But I will finish with saying just two words on the real subject of the Ministers of Justice Conference, which is the really tragic events which, in fact, here in Vilnius, only a few kilometers away in Ukraine, are happening every day. The suffering of people under a blatant aggression by one of the very countries that sat in judgment in Nuremberg and condemned the Nazi leadership rightly for the crime of aggression, or the crime against peace, as it was called at the time. But now the community, the international community, seems incapable, more than 85 years or more than 80 years after Nuremberg, to rise to the challenge and find a solution for this jurisdictional gap, that there is no jurisdiction for the crime of aggression committed by a permanent member of the Security Council. Interestingly, and for me fascinating, but at the same time exhaustingly, all of a sudden the Council of Europe has raised to the occasion, having, I think, what helped is our track record in excluding Russia from the organization precisely because of this aggression. I think we gained trust in our membership for that, and we are now actively participating in the efforts to create a special tribunal. And Lithuania is leading promoter of this idea and organized the conference. Many issues are still open, but, and I would actually, it's difficult to make predictions even more in the future, but what I can say, my small team and also with the support, and I must say, amazing good relationship and work, and also even human working together with colleagues from Ukraine, from this wonderful country that suffered so much, but also with the EU Legal Service. On this topic, by the way, also on accession, we agreed on everything. We found a solution for all the incredible objections that the Court of Justice posed. And this now also on the tribunal. We work with the legal services of the Commission and the External Action Service. We have basically draft instruments for everything. The problem is that there are still quite a number of options and alternatives which relate, it's no secret, to the question of immunities of the Troika, a foundational principle of international law, as many say. And the jurisdiction, exactly, the Council of Europe has never created an international tribunal, but other international organizations have done so, principally the UN, but also in Africa, in fact, they have created the African chambers to try Sen Harbor. There are now efforts, as we speak, going on for the Gambia. It's incredible. Africa does it. Why should Europe not be able to do it? And we are falling behind in many things in Europe. But we will, as I said, there is now progress. The negotiations take place in a very special setting, which also I never experienced before, but it's an amazing experience. It's called the Core Group. It's basically the legal advisors, the top legal advisors from more than 40 countries that gather now almost every 2 months. In Riga a couple of months ago, in 2 weeks in Vienna, and with Ukraine, with the European Union legal services, and with us. And we are really working hard to make it happen. But of course, ultimately, this will be political decisions. And it will be very important, whatever we do, I mean, there is clear consensus that whatever will be done in full complementarity and not in competition or anything with the ICC. Nobody wants to weaken the ICC, which is a crucial instrument, but simply it has no jurisdiction over the crime of aggression. And I think here I stop. Just to say how much I'm really feel privileged to speak here. I would just like, maybe there are so many young people in the room, what has really been important in my career in international law. I would just name 3 things. Networks. I think this is a wonderful network, the European Society of International Law. I'm still counting in daily life, I must say, in my working life, with the network of the Max Planck Institute. I'm an old Plancker. And even the new directors, which, for example, Professor Peters, here present also, she participated in a seminar, made a very important contribution to explain how the statute of the Council of Europe, this old treaty, which is in many respects totally outdated, but is still a legal basis for the creation of a special tribunal for the crime of aggression. So networks and human relationships. I don't know, in some American novel I read somewhere, an US drug enforcement agent speaking to a Mexican somewhere said, hey, we believe in systems, you believe in human relations. And I think I must say my lesson of these last 40, 50 years has been human relationships matter. They are really the important ingredient of life and also for life in general, in all its aspects. And the most important, laughter. Walter Benjamin said, I think there's no better trigger for thinking than laughter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, now I have a few householding matters, like publication of the wonderful papers and presentations that we had opportunity to hear over the last 2 days. So the first thing, everyone who presented, all the speakers who were working hard to prepare their drafts, they are invited to reflect on the live experience that they had, to incorporate the comments and questions, critiques, and objections into their drafts, and to send the updated drafts before 1st of November to the usual inbox of the conference, that is info@ESIL 2024 Vilnius.lt. If you want those papers to be included in ESIL papers, and we'll try to make sure that they will be published in due course. Also, we'll make an effort from those submissions to select the very best and come up with a book proposal. And we will identify and will send the invitations to those selected papers in due course after we receive the updated versions of the papers. I guess that's it with the publications. Now, very important announcement about excursion tomorrow. For those of you who are staying in Vilnius for the weekend, there is an excursion on foot around the old town of Vilnius. The time is 1 p.m. at the lobby of Radisson. So please join the guide, and the guide will walk you and will explain more, and hopefully with funny stories about Vilnius. Now, I have a very important task, and I will ask for your patience for it. You will have to bear it. I have to thank all the people and organizations that made this gathering possible. Let me start with the ESIL itself. I received tons of support and encouragement from Glider, Christian, and Pierre, and I'm very grateful for it. Also, I want to mention Luis Miguel Hinojosa Martinez, who actually planted the initial idea to organize the conference in Vilnius. The program committee was very, very helpful. In particular, Dmitry van den Merche, who was actually a secret text writer behind the scenes. I'm very grateful for all his work. Viganta Milashuta, my colleague, was very, very important at the beginning. Unfortunately, for health reasons, she could not attend and see the fruits of her work. Patricia and Veronica from the board also came up with many, many great suggestions, and I'm grateful also to Catherine Titi for their work on the program committee. I'd like to thank other board members also who were on standby to salvage some late cancellations. That is Veronica Bilkova, agreed immediately when she was called. Christian Tams said, I'm always on standby. And again, Patricia Grebik, who agreed to substitute immediately Julia Motok. Now, let's turn to other ESIL staff. That is Anna, who is not here, but she was always responding very, very quickly, checking and asking, haven't you forgot that? Haven't you forgot that? As well as Maria Gracia with communication, and Joyce Davis, who are instrumental in putting together this event and seeing it through until successful end. Then there's a very much of important people at the law faculty. First of all, the ex-dean Tomas Davulis, who gave the initial green light for this conference, the current dean Haroldas Šinkūnas, who supported it, Vigita Vebraitė, who helped me to navigate the notorious bureaucracy of university, and Paulius Jurčys, also, who did a lot of behind-the-scenes work and who is unable to travel from the US to enjoy the result of his work. As well as Urte and Martina, who helped with the communication. I continue with my gratitude to the partners of the conference, Go Vilnius and Olga Malik from Go Vilnius, who helped to put together the pitch to the board of ESIL nearly 4 years ago. Gabija Grigaitė-Daugirde from the Ministry of Justice, who was very supportive of the idea and who ensured the initial financing. And Inga Černiuk, Ingrida Bačiulienė, and Darius Žilys from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, without whose support we wouldn't be able to enjoy all the facilities that we had. Other sponsors. Long-time institutional sponsor law firm Foley Hoag, impersonated here by Pierre D'Argent. Special thanks to him. Dinner sponsor TGS, Baltic law firm with Solveiga Vilčinskaitė in front of it, and we will hear from her during the dinner. Also, coffee break sponsors Glimstedt and Max Planck Institute for Comparative Public Law and International Law. I thank the selection committee. You did a great job of selecting the very best papers and the speakers. I thank all the speakers and moderators. I'm so grateful for your input. There would simply be no conference without you. There was fantastic and super committed local team to support the conference. Some of them are from the law faculty, but some of them are from the legal practice, and they took their precious time to help me in putting this event together. In particular, I want to mention Giedrė Jokubauskaitė, actually from Glasgow University, who was coordinating IGs and early career researchers events. Saulius Stonkus, who helped with the publishers and editors. Jūratė Ladvilavičiūtė, who was a central person behind the brochure. Raminta Matulytė, who was behind the inbox of the conference. Raimonda Kudrotaitė, who initially was curating interest groups and who was a special trusted person for all my urgent tasks. Eglė Zemlytė, who still carries on with the grants applications. Puja Damodaran behind the Twitter account. Goda Strikaitė behind anniversary celebration. Agnes Magurauskaitė, who was writing text for the website. And also each and every volunteer who did an excellent job by making sure that everything runs smoothly. I'm deeply grateful for your time and work for this conference. And finally, conference service providers who worked tirelessly to make sure that everything runs smoothly. That is Jurgita Jurkonė, Skaistė Kolosovienė, and Aleta Trepšytė. Thank you, and I'd like to hear a round of applause for all of them. Fantastic. You've been so patient. And now I'd like to pass the microphone to Helmut Aust. What are we going to expect next year?
Yes, thank you so much, Inga, for giving me the opportunity to give you a small presentation here on next year's ESIL annual conference, which has the theme of reconstructing international law, and which will take place at Freie Universität Berlin from the 11th to the 13th of September next year. The conference is co-organized by my colleague Heike Krieger, who many of you here may also know, and myself. We are the lead local organizers, and we would like to extend a warm invitation to all of you here in the room and to the broader ESIL membership to come to Berlin to discuss the theme of reconstructing international law. It's a theme with which we made our bid, I believe now 2 years ago already, so it's always a long process when you come up with a conference theme. And the idea behind the theme of reconstructing international law was to have a theme which is broad so as to accommodate the interests of many different members, but also to be specific enough for a coherent conference program. And we believe that this theme can be brought to light in various ways, in critical historical thinking and theoretical approaches, in doctrinal work and institutional perspectives. And we are very much looking forward to the contributions which will eventually then also emanate from the call for papers. So we hope that you will come, no, that was not the right button. We hope that you will come to Berlin next year. You've seen now some pictures of Berlin, which many of you may know. The conference itself will take place on campus at Freie Universität Berlin, which is not directly in the city center, but it is well served by a subway line, the U3, which provides easy access from wherever you will find your accommodation in the city. And we will host the conference in this building, which you see on the screen here, which is the central lecture hall building of Freie Universität, and which will be able to accommodate all events, catering, and publishers of the main conference. This place is also a place with a significant history, even though Freie Universität is a rather young university, founded in 1948. But, and this is a small spoiler for the welcome address that our university president will definitely give again next year. It's a place where in 1963, this gentleman, John F. Kennedy, gave a speech. And our university presidents always like to refer to this quote that this school is supposed to must be interested in turning out citizens of the world and not mere accountants, and sometimes also lawyers are mentioned there. Why do I mention this here? Not in the interest of inscribing this event in a particular history of transatlantic cooperation, but rather as a reference point to the place where we will meet, which is itself a place which was marked by severe geopolitical tensions. It was a university which was set up due to the Cold War, and it's a place where reflections about reconstructing international law can take place in the shadow of these historical factors which led to the creation of the university. So the main conference will be in this building, but we have also the law department across the street where the interest groups will meet on the 2 days before. And I don't want to keep you too long. I would for now just like to give you some very first impressions of what you can expect in terms of the program. And this is a first sneak preview of some of the persons who have already accepted invitations to speak at the conference. I'm not going to go through all these pictures. I think some of the faces have a significant degree of recognition also in this group here. So these are some of the speakers you will be able to listen to and interact with next year in Berlin. Putting together this program is not just the work of my colleague Heike Krieger and myself, but the work of a program committee which has been set up with the support of members from the ESIL board, with representatives from the early career researchers and the diversity advisory body. We are very grateful for that, and this program committee will also be responsible for working with the call for papers and the many submissions which we will hopefully receive. This leaves me to give you a few dates with respect to the road to Berlin, what you can expect. There will be a conference website going live in October. This conference website will feature the call for papers, and then the schedule is very much the one which you are familiar with from this year's conference. So we will be inviting abstracts until the 31st of March, 31st of January next year. Until the end of March, then we will select papers for the Agora, and then the rest will hopefully unfold smoothly. I very much hope to see all of you and many more in Berlin next year, and I would like to thank also on behalf of Heike Krieger, the board, for trusting us that we can organize this conference next year. And without further ado, I will give back the floor to Inga. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to visit Berlin. And now I'd like to pass the microphone to Glider to say a few final words.
Thank you. Yes, the honor falls to me to close this splendid conference. Splendidly compact. I feel like it was yesterday that I gave an opening address. We've had 2 incredibly intense but fantastic days. And so I don't want to forget people. So I did take a couple of notes. I can't believe how intense and scholarly and stimulating this conference has been, even with sunshine, I might add. I don't know how you manage that. I haven't seen it much, but I hope that participants have benefited from it, and I hope you will benefit from it as well tomorrow. I feel that people are energized. I feel that we're probably a bit tired, especially those of us that are still here, but I don't feel that. I think that we've had some interesting discussions, some dialogues, some wider discussions, both in and outside the panels. The feedback that I've received has been sometimes provocative, sometimes inspiring, always constructive, and in the spirit of what we gather to do as a learned society. So by way of general thank you to all the participants for engaging with one another. Thank you for listening, for providing commentary, for engaging and discussing, because our society is, our participants are the lifeblood of the society. So first, thank you to all of you for taking on that mission. And with a particular thanks to our wonderful speakers. I hope ESIL is a forum for you to engage, to get feedback on your research, to turn it into academic publications or whatever you desire from it. I hope that we've been able to give you that generous space. That's my aspiration for ESIL. I think we all share that common endeavor. And so thank you to the speakers for raising the bar once again. Every panel I managed to attend, I was stimulated, provoked, even when I didn't agree. And again, that is the point, that we have robust academic inquiry and the free exchange of ideas. Inga has thanked her team, and I think we've all seen the tireless group of student volunteers, the team from the University of Vilnius, of course the professional conference organizers here at the Radisson, but we need to thank Inga. Inga has a knack for quietly, efficiently getting things done. Things magically get resolved with very little fuss, very little drama. As a member of the board, Inga ran a number of portfolios with grace, with not insignificant charm, but always quietly, efficiently, with good humor. And I think the conference bears that imprint of your character, a collegial, friendly, and welcoming place. You put Vilnius in its best light, and it's been an honor and a treat to be able to see your home city. Thank you for bringing ESIL to Lithuania. I never can say it enough, but Joyce, Maria Grazia, and Anna in the Secretariat, who tirelessly work to support this society. You are our beating heart. We all are in a debt. We all owe you so much. Thank you. I don't know if they're here, but they deserve to freshen up before dinner. Please thank them. Excellent. I can't see anything from here. I'm sorry. But I can't thank them enough. And I hope you join me in a round of applause for them as well. And then finally, To the members of the board, my comrades in arms, I get to be president, and that's an honor, it's a privilege, thank you. But there is no president without a board, there is no ESIL without the volunteers that tirelessly, week after week, work and invest in the future of our society. Sometimes the portfolios are fantastic, sometimes they involve spreadsheets. But this collegial, warm and nurturing community is at the lifeblood of what we do as well. And I couldn't do it, we couldn't do it without the fellow members of the board. Some are departing, I thank them in the meeting, you know who you are, we'll miss you. And then this election year, we'll be welcoming new friends. So on behalf of all of us, in a way, I would just like to thank the board for everything that you do, and may the board continue to innovate and to grow the society even after my time, because all of our terms are ephemeral and short. So if you could just join me in a last round of applause for that. Thank you. And I think that is it from me. And I will hand over the reins to Inga as our conference chair to bring the conference to an official close. Thank you.
Just before saying that our dinner is scheduled for 7 p.m., we encourage many of you enjoy a leisurely stroll by the bank of the River Neris to the Duke's Palace. And for those who are absolutely unable to walk, there will be a bus leaving at 6:30 from the entrance of Radisson. I'm closing the conference, but I'm waiting everyone at the dinner. Thank you.